In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to tune your guitar to standard tuning. This applies to both your electric guitar and your acoustic guitar. As guitars are made of wood, temperature changes can affect your strings and they can go out of tune. Also, when you're putting on a fresh set of strings, obviously you're going to need to tune your guitar. The guitar has 6 strings and you count them as following. So from the top, we have the 6th string, the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd, and the 1st. And the string names starting from the top again are the low E, A, D, G, B, and high E. The 6th string, also known as the low E, is the same note as the 1st string, which is known as the high E. The difference is they are 2 octaves apart. In our previous lesson about the anatomy of the guitar, we talked about octaves. So 1 octave would be 12 frets. So 2 octaves would be 24 frets. So from the low E, we go up 12 frets. That's 1 octave. And if we go up another 12 frets, that would be the 2nd octave. Because we haven't got enough frets on this guitar, I'm going to start from the 7th fret on the A string, which is the same as the high E here. So if we go up 12 frets from here, we should reach the high E. So that's the same pitch as that high E. To help you remember the order of the strings, you can use mnemonic acronyms. So we've got every apple does good being eaten, or every apple does go bad eventually. Or my favourite, which is ridiculous, but it does stick in your head, which is eat a dog, get big ears. That's a great one. It is very important for you to keep your guitar in tune. Firstly, because you sound good, and secondly, because it helps train your ears to get the correct pitches. Once you've been playing guitar for a long time, you'll find that you cringe when you hear someone else playing that's out of tune. It doesn't matter how good you are, if your instrument is out of tune, you're not going to sound that great. Moving on to your guitar tuner, this is one of the most essential pieces of gear that any guitarist should own. Many decades ago, you'd have to use tuning forks or pitch pipes to tune your guitar. Thankfully, things have moved on a lot since then and we have a lot more options. First up, we've got guitar pedals like this, which is the Boss Chromatic Tuner. These are great for putting on your pedal board. All you do is plug your guitar into this and it picks up the signal. You also have portable pocket tuners like this. These aren't used so much anymore, but you can turn this on, put it on your lap, and the speaker picks up the sound of your guitar. You can't really use these in loud environments, but you can also, like the guitar pedal, plug your guitar in if it's too loud. My personal favourite is the clip-on tuner, and all you do with this is you put it on your headstock. You can put it that way around, or you can face it round the back so the crowd doesn't see, and you can look round there. I'll face it towards you guys just so you see. This works a lot differently from the other tuners. It actually picks up the pitch from the vibration of the guitar and tunes like that rather than the sound, which is very cool. It doesn't matter if you're in a loud environment, it will still pick up the strings, which is very impressive. Obviously, if you took it off the guitar and tried to tune, it would not work. So you need to have it touching the guitar. And yes, it will still tune your guitar if you put it on the guitar knob, which is quite impressive. So if I leave that on there, yes, it still tunes it. Another great thing about the clip-on tuners is you can actually tune a variety of different instruments. This particular one by 2 notes allows me to do a chromatic tuner, tune for a guitar, tune for bass, violin I think, and ukulele. You can also get free tuning apps on your phone. So I've got the Fender tuning app on this one, and it works in the same way as your portable guitar tuner. From the microphone of the phone, it hears your guitar strings and tells you whether you're in tune. There's hundreds of free tuning apps you can find on your phone. It's probably the least reliable, but it is free. As mentioned in my previous lesson, my acoustic guitar actually has a built-in tuner. And the cool thing about that is if it's plugged in, I can press the tuner and it mutes my guitar signal going to the PA or the amp, so the crowd don't hear me tuning up. Don't worry if your acoustic guitar doesn't have a built-in tuner, you can use all the same things I've mentioned today for your acoustic guitar. Before I show you how to tune up a guitar, let me quickly go through the different types of tuners you get. I wish someone would have done this for me many years ago. It would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of money. First up, you get chromatic tuners like my Boss pedal and my clip-on tuner. This has ability to do chromatic tuning. This means that you can tune to any 12 notes on the guitar. You're not limited to your tuner only letting you see E, A, D, G, B, E. This can be very handy. Let's say if you want to tune your guitar to something different. Maybe I want to tune my low E to a D. If you have tuners that aren't chromatic, it might not pick up the low D because it's looking for a low E. Most tuners these days will give you the chromatic option, or you can choose guitar, bass or ukulele or whatever you need. Next up, you can get polyphonic tuners. I don't actually own one of these, but they are super cool. So you could strum all 6 chords at once and it actually tells you which strings are out of tune. This can be very handy if you've only got one string out of tune or a couple of strings, and you can just go straight to that string and tune it up. The most accurate of them all and the most expensive are strobe tuners. I do not own one of these, but usually guitar techs or producers or professional guitarists will have these. It's very accurate. Finally, we have the microphone tuners like this portable tuner, and also like the apps on your phone. They use a microphone to pick up your string sounds. These are probably the least accurate of all 4. Right, let's move on to tuning my guitar. First up, you need to make sure that your tuner is set to 440 Hz. This is the standard frequency for modern music. This allows you to be in tune with other instruments such as bass or mandolin or banjo or ukulele. They're all tuned to 440 Hz. Unless you've all decided differently, you may want to tune at 430 Hz. But as long as you tell everyone else in the band or the orchestra, you're all good. Okay, so I've purposely made my guitar completely out of tune and it sounds like this. That sounds absolutely beautiful. If I try and play a standard E major chord, it sounds like this. That definitely needs tuning up. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using the Ernie Ball tuner. It's a volume pedal and a tuner in one. I'm just using the tuner aspect of it because it has a nice large LCD screen that you can see. Okay, so you want to start with your 6 strings, so the low E, let's play that, and then I'll explain what's going on with the tuner. Okay, so that's a good start. We can see that it's nearly an E. This white line is to the left, meaning it's flat, so we need to sharpen it to get this line in the middle, and it will turn green when it's correct. A lot of tuners will have this kind of system where you just have to get this needle to go in the middle. What we want to do next is head over to our tuning pegs. So you want to work out which one is yours for the low E. Mine is here, and we want to turn it anti-clockwise and clockwise for sharp and flat. Anti-clockwise for me actually sharpens the strings, clockwise flattens them. It all depends on how your strings are wound. So we need to sharpen them. So let's turn that anti-clockwise. There we go, I've reached the E. That should stay, oh no. There we go. Also, you'll notice on here 440 Hz. As mentioned earlier, you need to make sure your tuner is set to that for the standard frequencies. Next up, let's go to the A string. Okay, so we can see we're close to it being an A because it says A here, but it is to the right instead of in the middle. That means it's sharp. So I'm going to have to turn my tuning peg clockwise. Woo! There we go. Okay, so that's your A string in tune. Moving on to your D. Okay, this is interesting because this is a chromatic tuner. As I said earlier, it does pick up every note, so that's quite handy. So we know this is a C sharp and we want it to be a D. That means we need to go up. It needs to be sharper. So I'm going to turn this anti-clockwise. And then you reach your D. So that's when a chromatic tuner is quite handy, because you know exactly where you are. If you want to get to a D and it's higher than a D, it's a D sharp or F, that means you need to go flatter. Next up, let's move to the G string. Okay, so that's showing it's an A. That means we need to flatten it because it's too sharp. If we go to our tuning peg for the G and go clockwise, it should flatten it. It's well out, so we've got a G sharp, means we still need to go down even more. There we go, there's G. Perfect, so we have 4 strings in tune. Next up, we've got the B string. What's going on with this? That's good news, we're close. It's a B, but it's too flat, so we need to sharpen that. So anti-clockwise, I will turn it. Anti-clockwise, Karl. Okay, so that's our second string, the B string in tune. Now for the final string, the high E, or the first string. So that's sharp, I need to flatten that, so that's clockwise. Perfect, so now our guitar is in tune. I'm also going to show you how to tune with an app on your phone. So I've downloaded Fender Tune, which is free. Let's go into that. You want to choose Auto Tuner, and let's tune up the low E string. Okay, so you can see that it's flat, so I need to sharpen that. So this is working a similar way to my Ernie Ball pedal. You just have to line up the circle in the middle. So if it's to the left, it's too flat. If it's to the right, it's too sharp. So let's move on to the A string. It's picked up that it's an A, which is good, and I need to flatten that. As you can see, this is kind of a bit more finicky than the other tuners. So the D string is too flat, we need to sharpen that. I quite like this app, makes a little sound when it's done. My G string's too sharp, so I need to flatten that. B string, too sharp, need to flatten that. My last string, the E string, too sharp, need to flatten that. Oh, too flat now. This is a good example of a tune that's not chromatic. So let's say I want to tune my B string to a C. It doesn't actually tell you anything about a C, it just tells you that it's sharp of B. This is a good example of how you can easily snap a string when you're a beginner, because you can't find that note. You keep going up, and eventually your string just snaps. So what I'd recommend if you're a beginner is really loosen up your strings if you don't know where you are, and slowly bring it up until your tuner starts to pick up the right string. A golden tip for you guys, once you've changed your guitar strings, make sure you give them a good stretch before you start tuning. So go through all 6 of them. Don't go crazy because you'll snap your strings, but give them a good stretch like that. And it will help them loosen up so you don't go out of tune quickly. That's it for this lesson. Hopefully you guys now know how to tune your guitar.